The Rio All Suites Hotel opened to great fanfare back in 1990. It arguably started the nightclub revolution. Penn & Teller broke residency records with 24 years and counting. And who could forget Rio Rita? But in recent years, the bloom on the rose as well faded. That might be about to change. Today on CityCast Las Vegas, we talk with the Rio's new CEO, Patrick Miller, to tell us why the Rio is still relevant and how a change of ownership and $340 million in renovations is priming the Rio for Vegas's biggest comeback. It's Wednesday, September 3rd. I'm Dayvid Figler, and here's what Las Vegas is talking about. All right, Patrick, I got to start with the hardest question of all. What happened to Rio Rita? And she doesn't look the same coming back.
I love it. That's a great starting question, David. Thanks for having me. Rio Rita is alive and well. She is back on the casino floor, walking around. The physical Rio Rita is walking around on the weekends here, talking to our guests and kind of enjoying that message that she used to give out when she first started. So great to have her back.
Yeah. And for those who don't know, she was, basically a mascot. She was prominently featured in a lot of the early advertising. And as you said, there was a live person or persons who portrayed Rio Rita and had a lot of interactions on the floor and at events. So, I love starting with a little history of your property because it has gone through a lot of iterations. So tell me about the Rio's place in Las Vegas history. Maybe some highlights worth noting since it opened that people should remember.
Yeah, well, the property means a lot to me. I was born and raised here in Las Vegas. So, watching the city grow, but watching this building kind of come out of the ground was a special thing. It was, it was a different, even the look of the building, when the original owners, the Marnell family, built it, it was coming out steel and glass. It was this sleek exterior, and then it had some neon on it. It was a cool thing from the outside. And that's, now you mentioned that we're on our 35th year as a property. And so it was really special. And then when you went inside, and it evolved throughout the first couple of years under the first ownership, but it was this really great property. It had great restaurants. It had, first of all, it was the first all-suite hotel that I can recall in Las Vegas, which was great. So the rooms were really big. And then they just kept adding on things. And I remember when the Masquerade Village opened and that spectacle of the Masquerade show in the sky, it was just a very, very energetic place, multiple buffets and everything that grabbed not just the local traveler, the local business person, but the traveler that wanted to come in here and say, hey, I love the Rio.
I remember the Masquerade Village, and for people who, it was basically a parade in the sky and on the casino floor. And it was at a time in Las Vegas history when every property had some manner of attraction that would happen on a fairly regular basis. And I think the Rio kind of took it to another level, trying to sort of emulate the parties of Rio from Brazil and just the energy and beads. Many of beads were thrown, but yeah, it was definitely a real energy. But that energy did kind of wane over the years. And I also appreciate that you bring up that locals and visitors would go, as is true with many hotels. But here's a big question that we play around a lot on this podcast. I know everyone is welcome, but is Rio, would you say it's a locals hotel or a tourist hotel? I know you want to say it's both, but which wins a little bit more?
Yeah, I'll answer it, but it's really a three-legged stool. And I say this often because it does have this local attraction, the ease of access on this side of I-15 and kind of the neighborhoods around here. It's a great property that is easily accessible. It is also it's very close to Las Vegas Strip. So it's got the ability to attract people right off the Las Vegas Strip, as you mentioned in your opening with Penn & Teller and some of the shows. We have 4 different showrooms. You still have people wanting to go, see something else and venture out from wherever they're staying, if they're staying on the Strip. The third leg of that stool, and many people don't realize, is the property has 250,000 square feet of convention space.
Mhm.
So the ability to appeal for the business traveler that is coming in and booking a big convention or their company or a large meeting group, that happens as well. And that's a large convention. So we kind of live in all those three realms. And we really it's kind of the day of the week on where you live. Midweek we're group and locals, and weekends it's mostly tourist on that side and the Vegas visitor coming in. I would say primarily probably live in the visitor mindset, but I don't want your listeners to think we don't love locals. I mean, that's a big part of who we are, and I think that they fill each other. So they all match very similar, and if one edged out, it's minor.
On the locals tip, I want to ask you this question as a CEO of a hotel. Do you think that independent casinos like the Rio can maybe more creatively have a greater impact on the general quality of life in our community, as any local business might want to do? But, yours is a very high profile, big business. Presumably you're in it to make a lot of money, et cetera. So how do you think as a locals casino, you could positively impact the community of people, who live here?
Yeah, well, a couple of things. I'll talk about the offering, and then I'll talk about how important it is to show up in the community. I think as I said, I'm born and raised here, so this community does matter, and I think the locals do care about the businesses and how they show up in the valley. I think first and foremost, the one thing about I spent my prior years in a major company on the strip, and sometimes that corporatization might think it just you don't have the ability to potentially be entrepreneurial and think about how quickly and what the consumer wants, or you're trying to appeal to that mass tourist and market from different countries and different cities coming in. And sometimes in that local mindset, where we're at here at Rio, we can kind of hone in on, okay, what are the locals wanting to do and what's mattering to them? And if there's a headache driving Las Vegas, i.e., like, then maybe there's traffic issues if you have F1 or something on in town, we can take a spin on that quickly and hopefully appeal to our guest. And I think
Mm.
that's one thing from a business standpoint. I think these smaller or standalone type out properties can do in companies. We're new in this as a company, even though Rio's 35 years old. Our parent company really took the reins a year and a half ago here at the Rio. And so trying to show up in the market and be, valued members, and whether it's philanthropic or volunteer time of our employees, all of our team members live here. And so they want us to do that, and they want to do
Yeah.
it. So I think that's the other side, that it's kind of the feel good side, but it's also the side that I think that matters when you're a business in the valley.
Yeah. Well, I mean, to be frank, the Rio has gone through some, highs and lows since it opened. And without a doubt, it's probably had a harder time with changes of ownership and other issues coming back than most as the city recovered from COVID, which, was a big hit for the whole town. So, how do you deal with that lingering perspective that the Rio has seen better days, or that it's even a hotel on the decline?
Yeah. Well, I think that, and I'll maybe touch on that briefly. And it's part of the nature of having a property that's folded into, it was owned by, as I said, Marnell family, and then kind of got folded into major corporations that kind of placed it where it was shuffled it to where it belonged in their portfolio of brands. And that's a tough thing. If you live towards the bottom, you might not get the capital reinvestment, the programs, the love, as I call it, on
Hmm.
the property. And so that's where it lived for a long time. And I think that what we've done, and we've done a really good job. And I probably say the first phase of the capital investments done. We've done about 1,500 of the rooms that are totally redone. Majority of the casino floors redone. We started redoing restaurants. We've got 3 new outlets coming on by the end of the year here as well. So part of that is adding new components and looking at a property and updating it. And sometimes it's fresh new carpet. Sometimes, of course, it's new slots and new wallpaper and all those things, or new concepts. But it's also the team members feel that, the dealers and the servers on the floor, and everyone who works here loves seeing that refreshment of your property. It's like redoing your house. It feels good to walk through and proud of it. It was a really tough place for a while, as you said, coming out of COVID. And with the, we came right out, started the reinvestment on the rooms and the property. And you see it now. You walk in now, and I'm sure you were in, hopefully you were in recently. If not, I'll have you back out. It feels different. It feels alive again.
Patrick, let me ask you, if you had all the money in the world from your parent company, literally no restrictions at all, what would you do to even further enhance your property? I mean, 380 million is that's a good number, but what if you had like no ceiling?
Yeah, I think it's a fun question. Rio sits on almost 90 acres of property. And so the building itself is roughly 70 of that, almost 60, 70 of that. So there's 20 plus acres undeveloped land. And so the ability to advance that land and find the right elements that goes on there, which is I've said this, it shouldn't just be good for Rio. I think when you've got that much land that's close to Las Vegas Strip in the center of Las Vegas, which is where Rio lives, the ability to do something that's right for Las Vegas, the city, would be really great. And so that major attraction that redefines Las Vegas and potentially elevates what the city could be, and of course Rio would be a beneficiary of that. That's a big part of the dollars I would love to see spent. And again, you've given me now this question a checkbook or a pocket that goes forever.
Yeah.
And then I'd love to finish up. I think there's a lot, there's a lot of programming here on this property that, I've got another 1,000 rooms that is under, it has to go under renovation. I've got that whole Masquerade Village and all those food and beverage outlets and retail, kind of mixed use retail center, and that I've got to figure out as well. So there's a lot of places we could spend that infinite amount of dollars on. But I think figuring out those 20 plus acres would be an exciting thing to do.
All right. Well, no stadium.
Well,
I'm sure you
I think
follow that like I did.
I did go to the groundbreaking of that over there on the Las Vegas Strip, so that looks like that's moving in that direction. But I think there's still opportunity for what you could do here in Las Vegas that elevates.
Yeah.
We are. I don't as we talked. You're in essence a local as well. I never count this city out at what it can do, and it never ceases to amaze me of where it will grow. And I think if you look back, 20, 30 years, we thought maybe Mirage was the epitome of what these, Mirage, Rio were opening up about the same time. There's the epitome of what could happen on the Strip.
Yeah, no Mirage anymore. So be
No
careful there,
Mirage.
Patrick.
No,
Yeah.
that's what I mean. Like, but it was
Yeah.
just that idea of a mega resort. And now you look at this city, and I'm looking out my window now, and we're a sports town. We're a gaming. We're all those things. We haven't evolved. We've just grown.
Yeah.
Every new thing we've done has been accretive.
Now it's just you and me. The Rio would have been a much better location for a baseball stadium than the 9 acres over there on Vegas Boulevard and Trop, right?
I think I love we're a sports town. I think it would have been amazing here. I would have loved to partner with them and what they're doing. I wish them the best where they're at, and I think it'll be I think again another push to Vegas to grow it.
Yeah. Well, I think a groundbreaking actually needs to break a little bit more ground, but we'll move on from that. You mentioned the Masquerade Village. One of my favorite places over there was down for a while. And now it's back, which is the wine cellar.
Oh yeah.
Why don't you mention some of the retail and restaurants that you have there now, some that are
Yeah.
holdovers and maybe some that are new?
I'll start with the wine cellar because I think that's pretty fun. There, this gem that sits, kind of tucked underneath Masquerade Village, is kind of subterranean, literally wine cellar, and we've got a great team there that promotes wine. We do activations with wineries and vintners from mostly California, but even international. We've done a couple, and then we've expanded. And we started doing some bourbons and tequila tastings and other things. It's just a great menu. We've done a couple of things there, which is good. I think we're doing 50% off wine bottles on Thursdays now. It's Thirsty Thursdays, we call it. So some fun promotions there. And then, really looking at staying in food and beverage side, I mentioned the bar when you walk right in off of Porte Cochere, which is really excited, called Lapa Lounge, with some craft cocktails, but still slots at the gaming, and you can kind of see the front desk. You can see the table games, and you're really close to the elevators. Right beyond that, is a what I call it's a tavern, but really kind of a casual steakhouse or think upscale bar food. A place called Luckily, which is really beautiful, fun energy with great music, kind of get great soundtrack to it. And again, it's right off the casino floor, right as you walk in, so everything is very navigable as you go through. I think of note, everybody asked. I get this question a lot, David. Is the when's the buffets coming back? When are the buffets coming back? And there was two here, two major ones that
Yeah,
people
no,
would
in
be
the
like,
day, we did an episode here about the history of buffets in Las Vegas, all the
yeah,
way to the very first ones. My co-host is a food historian. We got so much feedback on that episode. People love hate their buffets in Las Vegas.
yeah. I don't. I'm no socio kind of economist to understand it, but like they've definitely changed, and there's only a few left in Vegas, I know, and this press had two, and we looked at it. I think the right call. We brought back a really fun food hall that's got the ability. It, People don't realize it looks like, oh, that's where the buffet was. It's really only about 20% of the buffet. So the ability to grow and maybe expand upon that will be part of the future. We've got 6 great outlets in there right now, but we've done a food hall in the one. We've got, I think, exciting. We've announced this. I think the best, if not the one of the best views in Las Vegas, is the top of the Masquerade Tower right there, the kind of the kidney bean shaped tower. And we had a place called Voodoo Steak up there for 20 plus years, and just kind of sweeping views of Las Vegas because you get the breadth of the strip. And we partnered with a gentleman, another local Las Vegas local, James Trees, who runs some great restaurants downtown, Esther's Kitchen and Bar Bohem.
Yep.
Um,
We've
he
had
is
James on the telling about his hard scrabble life. He's an interesting
Yeah,
cat.
James is great. He can really is an amazing chef, an amazing restaurateur. We partnered with him to do a restaurant called High Stakes. It'll be kind of his first foray into steakhouses. It'll be his first big, I'll call it strip esque. He's got a lot of stuff downtown and kind of off strip. I consider this kind of on strip or right off, being that you're there, and so we're really excited for that. And he'll open up this fall, so that's exciting.
I want to talk about some entertainment there because Penn and Teller have been real mainstays as entertainment in Las Vegas for a long time, the majority of that career over at the Rio. So the question is, are they going to live on forever at your property? And then what other entertainment offerings may be the next mainstay of your property?
First of all, Penn and Teller are amazing. I think they're celebrating 50 years together, these two individuals, which is a really long marriage when you think about how close they work together.
Well, if
They're
one partner
fantastic.
never talks, it makes for an
Yeah,
easy
well,
marriage.
I'm going to leave that one there. My wife may listen to this. I want to make sure she
No, I'm going to get
she
it from
knows
mine too. So yeah,
that
sometimes I just speak.
they're amazing. And again, 25 years here, kind of coming up on 25 years here. We love them. We hope they stay, and we'd signed them up for more years, and I hope their future involves. And what's fun about them is they reinvent their show every night. I don't think their show's the same. As much as I've walked in there, they'll take something out, add something in, and they've got such a longevity of tricks and illusions to show that they do a great job of making that show fresh. And they filmed their Fool Us Now here too, so that's great.
Mhm.
We've also got 3 other showrooms, which is the Comedy Cellar, which does great. Obviously, their name out of their New York City is their original thing. They sell out almost every night with fresh comedians coming in. We've got the Wow Theater, and that theater is a really fun theater. It's in the round. It's the old nightclub, if everybody remembers the Rio nightclub, and then ultimately that's where Prince did his residency at. So it's a really intimate in the round setting, and our partners there do a show that's you know it's it's a variety show with a lot of acrobatics and energy, a little bit of water. So I think it is for the value, cirque-esque in many ways. And then we opened up a new show just on May the 4th. We opened up Empire Strips Back, which is a fun burlesque parody of Star Wars, and really great reviews so far. Fun night out for sure. And we kind of teased it just last weekend, but we're gonna take one of our outlets and do a fun I think they've been in market almost 30 years in Las Vegas. But by the time this comes out, I think it'll be official. Marriage Can Be Murder will join us for the dinner theater, which is a fun group of people. And I had a great space that fits what they want to do. So basically, 5 shows on this property, and then we're always looking for more. The ability, I've got a tent that used to do fights and things here. So it's just timing and energy of what we do.
Yeah, I remember seeing Marriage Can Be Murder. Man, that show goes way back at the Fitzgerald downtown.
Yeah.
And I'm
Yeah.
glad you mentioned the Prince residency. I think that one is lost through history. It was maybe the crown achievement of, no offense to Penn and Teller, and I love their show, but one of the greatest nights of my life started at the beginning of a Prince show and ended at 4 a.m. when he was still playing in the restaurant afterwards, and we were like right in front of him. Epic story for another day. Things like that don't pop up as much as they used to. I think a lot of people have tried to recreate that. And Patrick, it does sound like you're open to these ideas. All right, last question then is, what is, and this is like a serious question, what is the biggest challenge, maybe your least favorite part of being a casino CEO?
Yeah. There is, there's a lot I love. I don't know, challenging. That's a great question. There's so much I love about the role. There's always something going on. There's always a problem happening. And I think that's maybe the one side that I love it, but it definitely is the challenges. You talk about the buildings and what happens in here. I joke about this. There's a pipe breaking every minute. Like,
Hmm.
something's happening in a building of this size, or, something goes wrong. And you've got a lot of people relying on making sure everything's working and giving a service that happens. We're fortunate because, I'm not doing this alone. There's, 1,700 other individuals that are focused on the guest and our building and what we do. But I think people underestimate the scale of these integrated resorts and what happens. And I know that from working on the Strip or anywhere, my counterparts feel the same way. There's stuff that goes on. What we're doing is not complicated. We're trying to make sure guests have a good time, but it is difficult to get it done. There's a lot going on to make sure that guest experience is the best it can be. And so, we strive for that all the time. And, when we get things wrong, it's how we recover. But I think that's a big part of it. I maybe have one thing to close on because you mentioned your night at Prince. That's the one thing that keeps me going, is that there are so many people that have these memories of Rio. And I can't tell them, but I was like, oh my gosh, I had the greatest night there, or I got engaged there, or I had this, or whatever happened. There's people that are rooting for the Rio, and it was a special place in a lot of people's mindsets. And I've got to tap into that emotion and start recreating those. And so that's what we focus on, is like, how do we build a property that can have those memories again? And so that's kind of the push that I work on towards the future.
I appreciate that, Patrick. I appreciate your time here today. Thanks for joining us on CityCast Las Vegas.
Thanks, David. And page me if that's a thing still. You can page me when you come in, or just give me a call.
And that's all for today here on CityCast Las Vegas. If you enjoyed the show, hey, go tell a friend. You could also rate our show, leave us a review there too, and subscribe to our morning newsletter. We do this every day. Now, don't forget, you can support the show and get great perks by becoming a CityCast Las Vegas neighbor at membership.citycast.fm. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more news from around the city. Till then, stay lucky.